Hey everybody, we are live right now with Molly Tuttle. Molly, thank you for being
Hey,
here.
thanks for having me.
Amazing.
This is
Yeah,
so
we
cool.
are on the road in Nashville. We're in East Nashville
Yeah.
at Instrumenthead Live. And Molly, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah,
We're about
thanks
to
so much for
hear
having me.
music. You're playing music for us today.
I
What's coming up
am.
first?
I'm going to play a cover song. So I released an album of all covers earlier this year. We did it quarantine style, where I was recording them in my house and sending them out to people around the country. And this is one of the first ones that I chose for the record. It's by the band Rancid, called Olympia, Washington. Hanging out with Lars down on 6th Street. He knew that I was in trouble. I was feeling much like the devil. There was something burning deep inside of me. Ran into 3 Puerto Ricans. These girls took us to the fun house, where we played a lonely pinball machine. Hanging on the corner of 52nd and Broadway. The cars passed me by, but none of them seemed to go my way. New York City, well, I wish I was on the highway. Back to Olympia. I'm having a hard time understanding. It gets all too demanding. She's all gone and I'm stranded. Something burning deep inside of me. All I know, it's 4 o'clock and she ain't ever showed up. And I watched 1,000 people go home from work. Hanging on the corner of 52nd and Broadway. The cars pass me by, but none of them seem to go my way. New York City, well, I wish I was on the highway. Back to Olympia. How many times will it take me before I go crazy? Before I lose everything? Something burning deep inside of me. Ran into 3 Puerto Ricans. These girls took us to the fun house. I don't wanna be alone again. Hanging on the corner of 52nd and Broadway. The cars pass me by, but none of them seem to go my way. New York City, well, I wish I was on the highway. Back to Olympia. Thank you.
Man, thank you. That sounds amazing.
Thanks.
When were you exposed to that song? Was that something that you grew up listening to? Was it later in life, like as an adult, when you were exposed to that tune, or when did that happen for you?
Yeah, I actually heard that song. I think I was in 7th or 8th grade, and my friends in middle school were all really into Rancid. I think, I guess they were more of like a 90s band, but we were all super into punk rock in middle school, and they were a Bay Area band. I grew up in Palo Alto, California. So we loved to play their songs and jam on them. We had a really cool music teacher at the middle school who taught us like rock songs, and so we did a lot of Green Day, a lot of Operation Ivy and Rancid, and Blink 182. But that one really stuck with me, and then I played in Olympia, Washington about a year ago, and that song just kind of popped back into my head, and I wanted to learn it for the show.
Nice, yeah. I mean, I think it was "And Out Come the Wolves." I mean, I grew up in the Bay
Yeah.
Area too,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, listened to that album concurrently, like
Yes.
when it was out. When I was in 7th grade, I think was when that album
That's
came
so
out.
cool. Yeah, I love that album. I still listen to it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing it with us.
Thanks.
And there is a lot more music that you're sharing with us today. What's coming up next?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a cover of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. This is one called Zero. Shake it like a ladder to the sun. Makes me feel like a madman on the run. Find me never, never far gone. So get your leather, leather, leather on, on. You're a zero. What's your name? No one's gonna ask you. Better find out where they want you to go. Try and hit the spot. Get to know it in the dark. Get to know whether you're a crime, 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 or love. So can you climb, climb, climb higher? Shake it like a ladder to the sun. Makes me feel like a madman on the run. Now you're never, never far gone. So get your leather, leather, leather on, on. You're a zero. What's your name? No one's gonna ask you. Better find out where they want you to go. Hit the spot, get to know it in the dark, get to know whether you're a crime, 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 or love. So can you climb, climb, climb higher? What's your name? No one's gonna ask you. Better find out where they want you to go. Try and hit the spot. Get to know it in the dark. Get to know whether you're a crime, 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 or love. So can you climb, climb, climb higher? Climb, climb, climb higher. Thank you.
Man, that sounds great. Thank you so much for doing this. So I know what's coming up next because you told me what's coming up next,
Yeah.
and you're playing a song by the band The Grateful Dead, and we've got Michael chose these pictures and curated these pictures specifically for you. So you've got Mickey Hart there on the wall. Can you talk
Yeah,
a bit
super cool.
about your connection with that band and why that song resonated with you enough to cover it?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think a lot of the songs on the album kind of, some of them were older songs that I knew growing up, and a few of them, like the Rancid one, was one that was just so nostalgic for me and really tied me back to my roots growing up in Palo Alto. And the Grateful Dead for me is like that. They got their start in Palo Alto, and the song that I chose to cover, Standing on the Moon, it mentions California and San Francisco, so it's just such a meaningful song to me, especially this year when I've been away from home and away from family, most of my family is still in the Bay Area. So that song felt really resonant this year. It's talking about standing on the moon and kind of looking down at Earth, and I feel like a lot of us this year were really zooming out on humanity as a whole. We're all going through this together, and a lot of people are missing home and away from their loved ones, so this song felt really meaningful to me. And the Grateful Dead has just always kind of been a big part of my life, growing up where I did, and my mom was a big Grateful Dead fan, and I had their records growing up. I kind of got more into them as an adult than as a kid, but their music has always been around, and Jerry Garcia inspired so much of the bluegrass scene in the Bay Area, and people listened to him and his records with David Grisman, and so it's kind of part of the culture out where I grew up and in the music community that I grew up in.
Yeah, good. I mean, I resonate with that completely. I grew up in San Francisco as
Yeah.
well, and I worked in Bill Graham's archive. Like, I digitized
man,
a
that's
lot
so
of
cool.
Grateful Dead recordings, and
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, that's. I'm looking forward to hearing what you're about to do right now.
Thanks. Standing on the moon, I got no cobwebs on my shoes. Standing on the moon, I feel so alone and blue. I see the Gulf of Mexico as tiny as a tear. The coast of California must be somewhere over here. Over here, standing on the moon, I see the battle rage below. Standing on the moon, I see the soldiers come and go. There's a metal flag beside me, someone planted long ago. Oh, glory standing stiffly, crimson, white, and indigo. Old glory standing stiffly, crimson, white, and indigo. Indigo. I see all of Southeast Asia, I can see El Salvador. I hear the cries of children and the other songs of war. It's like a mighty melody that rings out from the sky. Standing here upon the moon, I watch it all roll by, all roll by, all roll by, all roll by. Standing on the moon, I see a shadow on the sun. Standing on the moon, the stars go fading one by one. I hear a cry of victory, another of defeat. Hey, scrap of age-old love,
lullaby down some forgotten street. Standing on the moon, where talk is cheap and vision's true. Standing on the moon, but I would rather be with you. Somewhere in San Francisco, on a back porch in July, just looking up at heaven, at this crescent in the sky, in the sky. Standing on the moon with nothing left to do. A lovely view of heaven, but I'd rather be with you, be with you. I'd rather be with you. I'd rather be with you, be with you. I'd rather be with you.
Thank you.
So when you play these covers, and then we're going to go into an original next, do you get the vibe? I mean, does it make you feel the same way when you're playing one of your originals as it makes you feel to play somebody else's tune? Because I mean, like once you put your song out into the world, it kind of belongs to us all at that point. So it, you know, it's not a cover technically at all, but it is kind of belongs to all of us. Does it make you feel differently, or is it all kind of like mishmashed into the same pot?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it makes me feel a little different, and it's been interesting with this cover record that I made in quarantine this year, and kind of made it to put out during this crazy year where like none of us are touring and everything. So I really haven't like played many shows and done these covers. I've done like live streams and stuff, but it feels a little bit different, but I have such a personal connection with all the songs I chose. I think it does in a way feel like they each have meaning to me or bring me back to a certain memory or a place. So in that way, it's similar to songs that I've written about times in my life, is these songs all bring me back to certain moments in my life and have a personal meaning to me. And yeah, I tried to do that with choosing the covers, was choosing ones that I felt like I had my own meaning to bring to them, or a different spin to put onto the songs that made them my own in a certain way, while kind of like honoring these amazing songs that I love and honoring the original versions.
Nice. Well, that comes across very clearly. It's clear that you do have that connection, and you're communicating that connection very clearly. It's a total pleasure to listen to you play these songs, and we are only 3/4 of the way through. There's an original coming up next. Yeah. What's fourth today?
Yeah, I'm gonna do one off my record that came out before the cover record. This is one called "Take the Journey." I'm gonna do a little guitar swap here. Cold, cold mornings, the road keeps going and it never seems to end. Lonely hearts that cry without warning when the light ain't shining from around the bend. Take the journey, no matter where it starts or where it ends. Take the journey, someday you'll make it back home again. You can try to control the weather, but the rain inside you is still gonna fall. Days of drought will nearly starve you. There's no use hiding, gotta face it all. Take the journey, no matter where it starts or where it ends. Take the journey, someday you'll make it back home again.
will protect you from your deepest fears. Take the hand of the one beside you. Let the fire guide you till the path is clear. Take the journey, no matter where it starts, where it ends. Take the journey, someday you'll make it back home again. Someday you'll make it back home.
Thank you so much.
Molly, thank you for coming and doing this. This has been a total pleasure on our side, and hopefully we get to
Likewise.
do this more and more in the future. I
Yeah,
mean, we'll see
thanks
how
so
it
much
all
for having me.
develops. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. You have just made our Wednesday more delightful, so thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you so much.
All right.